Now, remind me, we had talked about the next exam date, right? Last class?
Yeah.
And I said, and I think I said like the 4th, something like that. That does sound right to me. So, since that would be week 11. So, the first couple, so I just want to say a couple of pieces of advice with regard to that. Just again, I will send out a practice exam. There's going to be a lot of, so there's going to be a number of like kind of vocabulary / concept questions on there. And if you take your tree 1 and if you do the tree quizzes that are listed in Canvas, that's actually pretty accurate representation of one of the parts of the exam, where I will give you a tree and ask you to look at something. Also on the exam, I should mention that like there will be parts where I'm going to say questions along the lines of hey, here's a bunch of numbers. I'm going to add them to a tree. What is the tree going to look like? And if it was a paper exam, I'd ask you to draw that tree. But since it is electronic, I'll go ahead. What I've gone ahead and done is I've made trees that are multiple choice, and you simply select the right one. However, multiple choices are basically all or nothing. So if you want to avoid that issue of so for any of the multiple choice ones, okay, if you want to avoid the issue of all or nothing, show your work. That's basically, upload it on with your exam. Yes, question. Was that a question? Huh? Yeah, the 4th. So not next week, but next week. Right. And again, it's primarily the next exam will primarily be covering trees. Let's see. You know what? Fine. I think that it will be a good use of our time to kind of just show you I will show you the practice exam for the trees to give you an idea of, sorry, for the exam 2 to give you an idea of what we're going to be covering in that. Okay. So give me 1 second. Classroom. Destruct. And yes, I know I have to share my screen there. So that's teaching. Data structures teaching. So again, will be on the 4th, but questions that I'll be putting on. So one of the since we've learned a lot of data structures at this point, you'll or will have learned more at that point. I will want you to I'll give you a bunch of scenarios and I'll ask you to choose the best data structure. Again, on the exam, that's going to be multiple choice. Here you've got vocabulary questions. These are going to be similar to the questions that are on the tree quizzes, right? Which are fill in the blank kind of deals. Just knowing your tree vocabulary. So expect to do a question like this: draw the binary search tree that forms after inserting the following integers. And then using your previous answer, draw what happens when you remove the following, because for the practice exam, I get to be lazy like that. On the actual exam, again, for both questions, I will give you either the numbers in the trees, and you'll have multiple choice, so you don't have to actually physically draw the tree and upload it. Again, tree vocabulary. I'll also expect you to know heaps and do kind of the similar thing. Draw a heap after you add a bunch of items. Draw a heap after you remove an item. I do plan on putting Huffman and coding on the exam. However, I will put that on the group portion of the exam rather than the solo portion of the exam. Okay, which is something that's later in that. And the coding questions, generally, there's like going to be only 3 of them again. So coding, here, write a method which, given the root of a tree or subtree, computes and returns the number of nodes in the tree or subtree. Don't use the size method. Pretend it doesn't even exist, right? Here, I want you to recursively count the size. Another one that's similar is, given a tree, return whether that tree or subtree is full. Meaning, and for those of you who are still like in the middle of the process, those are, a full tree is a tree that has two, that has every node has either two children or no children, no children. So there's no one child, no nodes that only have one child. Similarly, this is a harder question than I would normally ask, but basically telling if two trees are equal. And this is definitely similar to one I'll ask, which is write a method that returns what characters occur in a string and how many times each occur. And I don't tell you what data structure to use in the prompt, but I sure as heck tell you what data structure you need in the return type, which will be maps, which is what's covered after trees. That makes it a lot less painful. And then analysis questions. What are collisions and hash tables? Why do they occur and how are they handled? What is the worst case runtime of insertion and deletion? I will be posting this, in the upcoming week, but this is kind of the idea of the problems here. I will point out again that that the tree problems don't necessarily need recursion, but it sure as heck makes them way easier to do. Okay, you technically don't need ever use recursion for any of these things. It's one thing I was thinking about as I was talking, and now I can't remember it, which is, let's see, Huffman encoding heaps. Size tree is full equals. It was a common mistake. Or common. Oh, yes. Now I remember. Okay. So over here, problem 6, I say describe without using code to calculate the height of a tree recursively. So let's go ahead and get some contradictory answers, which is kind of the point of what I'm doing. Oh, I don't think I was sharing my screen at all. Great. Okay. Right. Don't worry, you didn't really miss anything. I will be posting the exam that I was going through. It will be 4th. Yes, it's okay if those haven't been graded. I'm still working through those. I did a few, but I haven't done all of them. All right, so let me draw a tree here. Okay, what is the height of that tree that I just drew? Yes. 4. Okay, any other answers? Yep, another answer is 3. Okay, why is it 4? Or what are you counting?
It's the first level.
What's a level?
The first.
What shape are you counting?
What?
No, what shape? Are you counting circles?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're counting circles, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, who answered 3? Why is it 3? Yep, you're counting the branches. So your math class will say, your math class will often say that the height is 3. I'm saying your height is 4. This is because those are both kind of valid ways to interpret the height, whether it's the path height or the basically how long the longest path is, or how many levels there are to the tree. So this is one of those cases where context matters. I like my answer because it allows for me to say, hey, a perfect tree, which is this thing, a perfect tree by definition has 2 to the h, where minus 1 nodes in it, where h is the height of the tree. Here would be 3, and so 2 to 3 is 8, minus 1 makes it 7. So a perfect tree would have 7. That's why I like that definition. It's the definition your textbook used, and I was wondering, how do students mess up the height when I'm asking them the height? Because in the math class, they teach it with the number of edges a lot of times, which is fine. So just be aware that we have different contexts of this. The exam again is going to be on November 4th. So not next week, but the week after. So please, if you need to schedule something around that, let me know. Again, it will be a group exam. And one thing that I'm definitely not going to put on the regular exam, but I'll definitely put on the group exam, is Huffman coding. Okay. And again, let me go ahead and get this out of the way. And again, the way I plan on kind of doing this exam is rather than giving you 2 electronic exams, which seems like it would be a bit of a headache. What we'll do is that your solo exam will be electronic. And then your individual, and then your group portion of that, we will let you'll work on paper with one copy of the paper per group. That way there's no issues about, no difficulties with like turning it in and trying, and people booting up multiple copies of the exam. Which happens, but people, well, that wasn't too much of an issue. Okay. Any questions? Today, I was planning on just basically letting you answering questions for you, taking corrections for the exam. I can meet, sometimes tonight as well as sometime tomorrow morning or noonish. And if necessary, I'll meet on Sunday. So if you need any help around anything, okay. So just again, reach out to me if you need help, and I will try to schedule time to help you. And if I failed to do that, I am so sorry because I get a lot of emails. If you are feeling like you're really behind in the course, please let me know as well, because we need to make sure that you get to where you need to be in 2 weeks for the exam, if possible. Okay, and I've had at least one student who's, and I say if possible because I have at least one student who's been out for multiple weeks due to COVID in one of my classes. So, if things like that, have been keeping you away from, so if things of a serious nature have been keeping you away from school for a while, again, just let me know, because I'm just trying to be flexible. Also be aware that COVID numbers and flu numbers are going up. I have friends in Georgia I have friends in Georgia who are saying that the hospitals they are working at are basically, it feels like winter, the winter wave already. So
Cold in Georgia.
it's actually fairly cold. They had some snow flurries. I think so. Or I know they had a freeze because I had friends who were concerned about their plants. And I thought I read something about a flurry somewhere, but again, Georgia's fairly diverse geographically.